Damien Bendel, age 32, and Terry Harris, age 35 dated for a short period, then moved in together. The couple lived 54 Chandos Crescent, in Killamarsh, a town in northeast Derbyshire, which borders Sheffield and South Yorkshire. Terry was born and grew up in the East End of London. At age 17 she moved to Sheffield with her mother, travelling back to Essex to visit her father when she could. She was a care worker. Terry was a huge West Ham fan. Terry has 2 children from a previous marriage, 13-year-old John Paul, and 11-year-old Lacey. Both children attended Outwood Academy City in Stadbroke, Sheffield. Terry recently told friends and neighbours that she was in the early stages of pregnancy. Damien Bendel has a criminal history. When he was 25 years old, he threatened a shopkeeper with a 7-inch blade. However, the shopkeeper produced a club from under the counter, so Bendel ran from the shop. There was not enough evidence to charge him with the crime, but later Bendel turned himself in and confessed. He was sentenced to 3 years for the robbery, and an additional 12 months for possession of an offensive weapon, to run concurrently. Bendel had a history of robbing small businesses around the community. He had served time in prison before for robbery. On Saturday, September 19 in 2021, Lacey and John had a friend's sleepover. Their little friend, 11-year-old Connie, stayed as she did many times before. This time was special. Lacey and Connie were working on setting up a fundraiser for cancer research. The 2 girls worked on posters, they put flyers up in a nearby park, and raided Terry's kitchen for candy to sell. The girls were excited to do something to help others. The 2 sold treats such as lollipops and bubblegum in an effort to raise funds for cancer. On Sunday, at 7:26 a.m. Derbyshire police were called to the home where the family lived to do a welfare check. A man was outside and appeared to be trying to harm himself, and covered in blood. The man outside was Damien Bendel. He was taken to the hospital with self-inflicted stab wounds. When nobody would answer the door of the home, police entered, finding the bodies of Terry, John Paul, Lacey and her friend Connie. It was determined that Bendel's injuries were not life-threatening. He was later taken into custody. Chandos Crescent Road was blocked off after the incident, while officers spent several hours investigated the scene. A neighbor said, "I didn't hear anything when the attack happened, but on the night before there was an argument, they were shouting." Chief Constable of Derbyshire Rachel Swan said in a statement to the media, "This has been an understandably shocking event, that has deeply affected the local community in Killamarsh, as well as Connie's family and friends in Sheffield, and our thoughts are also with them. I would also like to state my thanks to those officers who arrived at the scene with such speed, as well as colleagues from the East Midlands Ambulance Service who attended the incident. All acting with immense professionalism in such a difficult situation. While understandably it's worrying and upsetting, this is believed to be an isolated incident in which those involved were known to one another, and nobody else is being sought in connection with the deaths." The man officers arrested at the scene, a 31-year-old from Killamarsh, remains in police custody on suspicion of the murders of Terry, Lacey, John Paul, and Connie. A team of detectives have been working through the night to understand the circumstances that led to their deaths, and I would urge anyone with any information to come forward. Of particular interest is anyone who was in the Chandos Crescent area between 9:30 p.m. on Saturday evening and 7:30 a.m. the following day, and who may have information that would be helpful to the investigation. The grandmother of John Paul and Lacey went to the scene the Tuesday after the murders. She said her grandchildren were beautiful and well-mannered, did anything for anybody. John Bennett, father of John Paul and Lacey, cried as he placed flowers near at the home where his 2 children were found dead. He posted on Facebook, "Absolutely broken my heart into a million pieces. I didn't protect my beautiful babies enough from the monsters, and now they have been suddenly taken away from me. I'm writing this as I'm lost and broken, on a 4-hour drive back home, having just received heartbreaking news that my beautiful boy John and beautiful daughter Lacey have been taken away from me. Their mum Terry also lost her life, and Lacey's best friend was also taken away from the world. Life will never be the same. I love you both more than anything. Please look after each other. Gone too soon with so much to live for. I wish I could hold you and kiss you and tell you how much I love you. Thank you for making my world. All my love, Dad." Father of 11-year-old Connie, Charlie Gent, said, "My baby girl, why? My world has been taken away. My little girl has gone. I can't even put into words or even how to feel or react right now. Now I have to live with the fact that I was helpless to protect her as always promised, and she's gone. I don't want anyone to ever go through what I'm going through right now." He went on to say that his daughter stayed with the family many times, so when she went this time he had no concerns. He continued, "It's your worst possible nightmare." He left a handwritten note at the home where the murders took place. At the end of the note it read, "Fly safe, baby girl, I love you with all my heart and always will." Terry's parents issued a joint statement, "Our Terry, our daughter, our world, our everything. From the day she was born she was our princess, and remained so until she was cruelly taken from us. She was an amazing mum. Her babies were her world. She will be missed more than any words can ever express, not only by our family, but by anyone who had the privilege to have been in her life." Outward Academy City in Sheffield, where the children attended school, made a public statement saying, "We are all devastated at the loss of 3 of our students. Our hearts are broken after this weekend's tragic news, and we would like to offer our deepest sympathies and condolences on behalf of everyone at Outward Academy City to those families affected. The children had bright futures ahead of them, but sadly none of us will get to see this. The school community will remember them fondly." The statement went on to say that Connie and Lacey made positive impressions on everyone they came into contact with, and John Paul was popular and a polite young man, well liked by staff and had a close-knit group of friends. "It is difficult to process the news, but the memories we have of John Paul, Lacey and Connie will live on forever at the school. Our school community is shocked and we are grieving together." Damien Bendel appeared at Derby Crown Court via video. He was not granted bail. Judge Nirmal Shant QC told Bendel, "Your trial will be fixed for March 1st, but before that date there will be a review of the case on November 26th. Mr. Bendel, you will be remanded in custody. Thank you very much." Neighbors and friends paid tribute by placing flowers and candles outside the home. The community came together to pay their last respects. Over 300 people turned out for a candlelit vigil in the memory of the lives lost. Funeral services for Terry Harris, John Paul, and Lacey will be held on October 21 in 2021 at Giles Church, Killamarsh. A private cremation is scheduled at Chesterfield Crematorium. Connie Gent's funeral has not been made public yet. Mason Sisk, 14 years old, was a freshman at Elkmont High School. John Sisk, Mason's father, was an automotive and recreational vehicle repairman. He has an associate's degree in diesel mechanics technology from Lincoln Tech in Indianapolis. Before that, he was an internet sales manager for Rocket Harley-Davidson in Huntsville for 3 years. Prior to that he completed the Paul Mitchell School in Huntsville in cosmetology. He graduated with cutting honors, color honors, texture honors, and was on the dean's list. However, John had a criminal past. He had an ongoing criminal case against him for armed burglary where he beat a man with a gun. The conviction is pending. Previously, in 1999 when he lived in Indiana, he was charged for a sex crime. Since then he reportedly had turned his life around. Mary Sisk, Mason's stepmother, has a bachelor's degree in education, and a master's degree in special education from Southeastern Louisiana University. She has been working as a teacher for over 10 years. She has been teaching special education at the Huntsville City School. In her school teaching biography she wrote, "I am happily married with a great husband and 4 beautiful children. I am originally from New Orleans, and really miss the food. I am currently working on furthering my education with the support of my amazing family." Mary Sisk's home was devastated in New Orleans due to Hurricane Katrina. This forced her to make the move to Indiana. There she met John Sisk through a mutual friend. From there she moved to Alabama, and John quickly followed her and moved there too. The couple married in 2010. Mason's biological mother died in Indiana in 2011, when he was only 6 years old. However, he hadn't seen his mother since he was 3. John was awarded full custody of his son due to his mother being addicted to drugs and alcohol. Mary officially adopted Mason on December 21 in 2018, but felt she was his mother, and was the only mother he ever really knew. Mary even dyed her hair black to match his so he wouldn't feel left out because of all of his younger siblings had blonde hair. John, 38 years old, and Mary, 35 years old, went on to have 3 children together. Grayson, age 6, Aurora, age 5, and Coulson, 6 months. Grayson, nicknamed Kane, had just graduated kindergarten in May. He was fun-loving, and had a knack for learning anything about science. Aurora Grace, nicknamed Rory, was quick-witted, and could always outsmart her brothers. Baby Coulson was a happy baby, who was always smiling. The family lived at the 25,000 block of Ridge Road in Elkmont, Alabama, where the population is just a little over 400. In early September of 2019 Mason found out that Mary was not his biological mother. After finding out this news, Mason began acting out. He was burning animals alive and breaking into local schools. In the early morning hours of Tuesday, September 3 in 2019 a 911 call came into the Limestone's sheriff's office. Mason Sisk told the operator that he was downstairs and heard gunshots coming from upstairs. Deputies arrived within several minutes. Mason was standing in the driveway. He told them he had been in the basement when he heard gunshots from the upper level of the home. He said that's when he ran outside. Deputies immediately entered, and found 5 people with gunshot wounds. Mary and the baby were still alive. The 2 were airlifted, but in critical condition. John, Grayson and Aurora were pronounced dead on the scene. Police took Mason to the police station for an interview. Police found inconsistencies in his story. When confronted with those inconsistencies he quickly made a full confession. He told authorities that he shot each family member, one by one, as they lay asleep in their beds. He said he put the gun up to the side of their head, and pulled the trigger. He told authorities where to find the gun. Not long after arriving at the hospital, both Mary and baby Coulson passed away. Police found the 9mm handgun in front of the home on the side of the road, where Mason told them it would be. Mason's juvenile probation officer said Mason does not seem bothered by the fact that he's accused of murdering his family. He has not shown any sign of remorse. While in detention, he has not talked about his family at all. Evan Miller's granddaughter was Mary Sisk's student. She said, "She went above and beyond what was called for a teacher. If my granddaughter needed anything she was there. My granddaughter has really excelled in her schoolwork because of her. We are heartbroken to learn of the tragedy involving one of our teachers, Mary Sisk, and her family, a Huntsville school press release says. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the Sisk family, and we ask everyone to remember them during this difficult time. The Paul Mitchell School paid tribute to John Sisk on Facebook, writing, "We are deeply saddened by the loss of one of our Paul Mitchell alumni, John Sisk. Our thoughts and prayers go out to his friends and family during this time." Erica Hochberger, a trauma counselor, said, "Through any kind of trauma you're most vulnerable in the future, so it's really important to have those skills of what in your environment might be dangerous, and ways to be assertive, and where to get help if you need it." Wanda Sisk, John's mother, said, "I've got to bury my son, my daughter-in-law, and my grandbabies. It's so hard to describe, it's unbelievable." Mary Sisk's mother told reporters that she heard about the deaths online. She said she had to call the coroner's office to confirm. She said, "We all get angry at our parents, and we understand that. But, to murder all 5 people. We just have never been able to accept or wrap our heads around it. We're hoping that Mason will get the help he needs. We're still flabbergasted, of course, but you can't just turn off unconditional love." On Facebook, the family's next-door neighbor posted this, "I've been thinking about the shooting that happened next door. About all of the people affected. About the property owners, the VFD, the neighbors watching between the mini blinds, the people who have relatives on our street, and the local school," he wrote. "This is surreal. The teenage boy used to play at our house often as a kid. He came in and played and ate snacks. We carried him to church occasionally. It's hard to imagine what has happened in 14 years to come to a point that wiping out your entire family seems like the best option. Now he has no one. I'm sure he's realized that he now has no one to console him. No one to wrap him in a hug, ever. What if it were your grandson or nephew, or your child's playmate? He's brought this upon himself. He's rocked a community. There's no denying his heinous act. Who's in his corner? Jesus. Jesus is ready to forgive. Jesus forgave me of a lot of horrible things. Jesus forgave you of a lot of horrible things too. Sure, there are going to be some severe consequences. The fallout will be horrendous. But, Christians are called to be like Christ. Christ who forgave those who crucified him. When you pray for our good neighbors, don't forget to pray for this kid. Mason Sisk will be tried as an adult. He is being held at Limestone County without bond, where he will remain until his trial date. He pled not guilty. His trial will be in early 2022 due to the original judge retiring. Funeral services for the Sisk family was held in Athens at the Limestone Chapel Funeral Home. The burial was private and for family only. Damien Bendel murdered his live-in girlfriend, and both of her children. He even murdered a little friend that was sleeping over. When a person can do such horrible acts, they are no longer human, but an evil monster, and should never see the light of day. Mason Sisk found out the person he thought was his mother actually was his stepmother. This sent him over the edge. He began harming animals, then turned to slaughtering his entire family. He deserves to live out the rest of his life behind bars. That concludes this episode. Keep your eye out for the next volume, coming soon. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.